Hello, it's Senior Runner here, and today we're going to talk about hills. It's one of the main bones of contentions I hear on the start line, especially from older people like me. It's where a lot of the time gets wasted or used up, or a lot of the energy gets used up, and it's where people often think, how should I be attacking that hill? Uphill? How should I be attacking it downhill? And is there anything I could do to improve it? And if I was to do a run today, how would I get the best out of that hill on that race? So the first thing I want to talk about is uphills. Now, we have to assume here that we're going to talk first in general as if we're going into a race today and we can see this hill in front of us. Now, the problem is you never want to overstretch yourself. It's a little bit like the general rule of thumb with racing: don't go off too fast. And you can think of the hill itself as being a race. You don't want to go off too fast, because if you go off too fast at the bottom, by the time you get to the top, you may not even reach it. And if you do, you're going to be so exhausted that you can't do any further around the course. So it has to be done methodically and planned. So the first thing is we have to plan it. Obviously, you have to plan it. So how do we plan it? Well, you have been doing some training, and I have to go back to the more detailed part here, because there's a half-mile hill near me. When I first restarted running, I would belt it up the hill and run off too quick. By the time I got to the top, I was doing an average of about 11 minutes per mile. No kidding, 11 minutes per mile. And I thought, well, I'm attacking it wrong. We need to do it the same way as we would general training. So how would I improve speed in general training? I've got some 10 lots of 20-second running to do next week, and it's at sort of 7 minutes per mile. Now, that will then get bigger and bigger, longer and longer, and there'll be less than, it'll be 10, 8, 5, and we'll get less repetitions, and it'll be bigger. So the idea that I did was quite correct. It's, let's split that hill up into sections. Let's run nice and quickly up that hill at a pace I would like to achieve, but then have a 20-second walk, jog for just 20 seconds, and then restart that next section. And I split that hill up into 3 sections. So I stopped or slowed down at least twice in the middle. And then as you get better at it, that first section got bigger and that first break got further up the hill until the second break suddenly reached the top of the hill, and I'm good. I'm only stopping once in the middle of the hill. Now, at the point of the race, you should be thinking, that's my basis. I look at that hill in front of me and I think, on that hill, in training, I would be stopping about halfway up that hill. So that's how you have to think about it in general. Then you have to, I apologise about the cough. I had meningitis when I was 40 and it shot my lungs. When you get to that hill and you look at it on the course profile, you think, okay, is it at the beginning of the course or at the end of the course? Important, because the next question is, what's after it? Because if you've got a nice downhill section where you can recover, you might be able to put a little bit more energy into that, because you'll be able to recover a little bit of energy going downhill, which we'll talk about later. So do stay on. And because you can work out that, yeah, I can have a little bit more energy into this. I would usually stop halfway. But how about I go a little bit quicker, stop halfway, and a little bit quicker for the second half? Or how about I try and reduce that 20-second gap to a little bit? But whatever way you try and you assume you're going to use extra energy in there and become a little bit more tired at the top than you would do in your usual training. Now also, if it's at the beginning of a run, you don't want to go off too fast, so you want to balance it nice and easy so you don't get too tired at the top, so that you know that you can easily recover a decent chunk of that energy you've just lost, and let your body recuperate, or if it's over a nice long downhill section especially. And at the bottom, you know, over the entire hill, you've not lost too much energy. And that's what we're looking at. So as you're going uphill, you're looking at it on your graph, you're seeing the course profile, it's at the beginning of the run. How much energy do I need for the entire hill? Then you know how much energy you're going to need, or you can give at the beginning, at the up section of that hill. Note, we're talking an up and down hill. Down and up is different. So on an up and down hill, if it's at the beginning, you assume that we assume you're going to not want to go off too fast. So you're going to gently run up that hill just enough, with just enough extra vigor, if you've got a downhill section where you can recuperate and recover. So that's the first bit. Now, the second bit is obviously how you do it. You do it based on how you would do your training runs at this point in time. Yeah, over time, if you've got a lot of time left to the race, obviously you're going to try and push to that same training I've just mentioned, but your training will eventually make those two stops into one, and that one stop into zeros. And my run has now got to 0 stops all the way up, and it's 2 minutes per mile quicker. Now, that's what we would expect, is you're improving and you get quicker going up the hill. But snapshot, when you get to that race, it's whatever you're doing at that point in time for your training run, and you adjust it where you are. Because at the end of if it's at the end of the race, you've got the up and down hill, you can afford to expend a little bit more, push it, because you've only got a mile left afterwards, and you're pretty sure you can judge how much energy you've got left at the top of that hill. Use as much as you can, with just leaving enough to finish that race without collapsing 100 yards from the end. So it does matter where the hill it is in the race. Now going downhill, because we're gonna just slip to the downhill section now. And going downhill is really important, because we mentioned recovery. Now I have to mention a race that I was in the New Forest. I was 16 years ago, and it was my personal best, and it will now remain my personal best, I assume. But there was a 1.5, 1 3/4 mile gentle uphill slog. But because it's at the beginning, most people had enough energy to quite easily fly up that. And then you get to the top of the highest point, and you go down this hill, which is about a mile and a quarter long, and it starts off waving, and then it goes into these zigzags because it's a steep part of the hill. And I was flying past these people, and apparently I was doing about 5 minutes 15 per mile. And these people are taking the shortest route down these zigzags, are inside line. And then as soon as they come, because the corner is steepest, they go round the corner steep, get quicker, and then they'd slam their feet against the ground. And they're using so much energy and slowing down so quickly that I just went straight past them, zoom. I said, you've got to use less energy, guys, because there's a hill coming straight afterwards. It was a down and up section. And you need to slingshot into the uphill section. Oh God, there's a hill after this, guys. And they'd not planned it. But the thing is, if you take me at the top, starting at the same time as them, which I did. I was just behind them. And then me at the bottom. If we started and finished at the same time, bang, bang, I was taking the wide angle around the zigzags, so that I wouldn't speed up as much. In fact, I can actually slow down. The wider on the road I am, I slow down. In the middle, I can roughly keep that same speed. If I want to speed up a bit, I do their line, cut the corner right in the middle and down the steep bit and carry on. But I can judge how fast I go. I can go as fast as I feel happy about not damaging my knees, or well, specifically my knees, but perhaps my ankles as well. So you're judging how you're feeling, you're judging how your legs and knees are taking the hit, and you're slowing down if you want to by taking a wider line. Yes, you're going a longer distance, but I can go from the top to the bottom in exactly the same time. Yes, I've taken a little bit longer route. Now, because I'm taking a longer route, I'm going faster at the bottom because I've had to go faster to take the longer route in the same time. Obvious physics. So I'm actually hitting the bottom nice and happy and going quicker than them. Plus, they've used energy coming down the hill. They've not recovered. They've been slamming their feet against the floor. I could hear the feet clattering against the floor as they try and slow down. The backs going backwards and slamming the feet. And I'm thinking, well, they're doing 7 minute. I think they were doing about 7 minute miles, slamming the feet on the floor to slow down to sort of like 7 minutes and stop at 7:30 and stopping them going too quick because they've been told it damages their knees and legs if they go too fast. But the problem is they're expending energy, valuable energy that you're going to need later in the race. So if they're going downhill, finish it slower, and have used more energy than me, what have I done? Clearly, I've not used much energy at all. I've used gravity to help me down the hill. And yes, I've used gravity on the flatter section, wider section of the curved part of the road to slow me down. So I've used gravity to speed up. I've used gravity to slow down. While I'm doing that, my body's it's not expending any energy. I'm relaxing. I'm breathing nicely. Take deep breaths, large breaths all the way down. Make sure you're taking in enough oxygen and make sure that you're relaxing the most you can. Relax the muscles, relax the neck muscles if you want, but you're relaxing all your muscles, giving your body a bit of a shake. And by the time you get to the bottom, you've actually allowed your body that little bit of time to relax. It's as if you've just been standing still, which on the longer the hill is, the more time you give your body to relax while gravity just lets you go down the hill. Now, this is a zigzag hill, which is critical. The zigzagging allows you to run wider around the road, take that flatter, less steep section around the corner, and then the shallower straight bit, you can either go straight down it as usual, or you can try and slow down if you think it's too much. Now, how do you slow down? Well, it's the same idea as if you were on one of these country park runs. Let's call it a half marathon, where it goes over the top, boom, down the hill. You think, oh my God! You'll see most courses widen out, and one of the reasons why they widen out is you can zigzag. Because a lot of people go straight out in the wall as fast as they can, and then they end up piled on the floor. I've done it by accident when I was a teenager in the local park. You run the 10K and you go down one of these hills. And you go, oh my God, this is... And by the time you get to the bottom, you're in that fast. You're free. I always used to free fall. And you get to the bottom and you nearly do fall because the pressure on your legs as you hit the bottom quick is like, oh, I want to stay up. You're slamming your foot into the ground even more, pushing yourself upright because you feel like you're going to fall on the floor. So you're trying not to do that. And now the only way of doing that, or the best way, is to gently go down the hill as the road would do, zigzagging it down. And as you take that wide angle round, and that's where your quickest point is, and then you slide a little bit along the hill, so you're not quite, you're certainly not going as steep as if you're going straight down it. Yes, you're going further, but overall you're managing to keep your speed to a speed that you're happy with, and speed that your body's happy with, and you know that you're not going to hurt your legs with. if you can stand a quicker pace, then you do very few of these zigzags. You might just do a little bit of a sway in the middle. But you'll find most of the top runners, if they want to slow down, they feel this hill's just too steep for them to just welly it straight down. You'll see them do a little gentle sort of swing, at least one swing down the hill and off. And that's why, because they're simply using gravity to slow themselves down. So along that, if you're doing a zigzag road, yeah, and you get to that straight bit, you might think of just cutting it in, swinging it round a bit, go up to the, if it's I turn left, I'll swing to the right and just then cut it in a little bit. And it's a little bit flatter now because I'm just taking it at a little bit of an angle. So use the angles, use the hills gradients a little bit better, and just think about it as you're looking at it. And this is a point I come to at the end. You've got to think about it, and then you know exactly what you're going to do on that hill, and you think, oh yeah, I can work out how much energy am I going to gain, or less energy am I going to use getting down the hill. So now you think this is where we think in the full hill. So if you're going up and down, you can now say, oh, down that hill I can save a certain, I can relax a certain amount. I can use your own scoring system if you want, 1 to 10. 10 being I'm free fall and I'm recovering all the way down that hill. 1 being it's a really narrow hill and I'm not going to recover at all because I'm still going to have to use my own energy to get down the hill because there's not enough of a slope for gravity to help me. So that's where the up and down bit comes. It's a little bit difficult when we start looking at down and up, because if you've got a steep hill, like in the New Forest one, a nice mile and a quarter, really steep downhill, I hit that bottom at about 5 minutes 15 per mile. And my average run, even if I was doing tempo runs, was about, at that time, was about 7 minutes 15, 7 minutes 5 to 7 minutes 15, I think it was, per mile on the flat. So hitting the bottom at 5 minutes 15 was just, I couldn't believe it. So the idea was there was a hill half the size, a third of the size, going straight back up, and it went across the road, so it went up across the road and then straight back up again. And no kidding, I got halfway up that hill with the momentum from that hill before I suddenly felt myself to slow down, and I thought, that's it. That's where I got to with the energy from that hill. And I hadn't put any extra energy in there. I was just, I did a little bit of energy, but I wasn't putting lots of energy as I would up a steep hill. I was just pushing the momentum a little bit, just to try and keep the momentum going a little bit longer. And I edged it all the way to about halfway, where we went across the road, went up, and then it was like, oh, I've got a steep hill here, but I was already halfway up it. So it helped me get uphill. I think we did about 6 minutes 20 up that hill, which, believe me, up a hill that steep and relatively long, I certainly wouldn't be doing 6 minutes 20. So the momentum had given me a good slingshot up that bottom of the hill. So that's where the downhill uphill is slightly different, because then when you get to the bottom of the downhill, you're not thinking, how much energy do I have to, can I, because it was flat on top, I would have probably been thinking, if I overuse energy now at the sort of like the first half, just coming up to halfway in the half marathon, I've got another half of that half marathon to go. I've got another 10 and 11k to go. Yeah, it's a long way to go if I overdo it up this only steep uphill. So you've got to think, you've got to realise that if you can use that downward sling up and you get halfway up the steep hill, you're no longer thinking, I've got all this great big steep hill, and I can't expend too much energy. The 6.5 mile, the halfway point was about a mile down the road up at the top of the hill. So I ran that, and I knew I could get a fair way up, but I didn't think I could get that far up. And then I just decided to try and keep it at that level for as long as I could. And if I needed a rest, as I would have done when I first started restarted running, I would then take a 20-second sabbatical and just a nice little bit of a jog and perhaps a little bit of a walk before restarting and sprinting off again. Because 20 seconds to me at my age is a good run, walk, run method. Little did I know, halfway up, managed to just push it, and keep nicely adding energy to it until I got to the top. Because it was only half the distance I actually pushed myself for, I was good at the top. And I was on for, as I got across halfway, I was on for an hour and a half marathon, which was like phenomenal to me, because I was used to doing an hour 45, an hour 50. In fact, I'd done 2 hours at Mansfield a couple of months before, about a year before. So you can use that momentum down and up, absolutely. And that's where the uphill is slightly different if you've got a steep downhill before it. If it's only a medium gradient downhill, though, you need to try and get as much out of that hill as you can, especially if it's a steep uphill afterwards, because you can still use a slingshot, but there's not as much energy being recouped from gravity pulling you down the hill. So you don't really get as much benefit. But certainly if you've got a steep hill, use that slingshot down and straight up. Told you how to get down the hill. Yeah. Try not to slam your feet on the floor. Try and make sure if you need to slow down, go wider and do a nice zigzag. So you know everything now, don't you? Now, one thing, and this is about the whole idea and the whole concept of running the race, is and the hills within it, is make sure you know the path and make sure you know where these hills are. Like I said before, I reached that one in Mansfield. It's about 1.25 miles. It's a gentle hill, and it's a pain in the neck. And I had to know about the hill before, because the hill down behind it was sharp and steep and very short. You couldn't recuperate because you weren't there long enough. You could recuperate a bit, but for like minutes, because it was a long straight gradient up and then a big short run down. So you weren't really you looked at it, I can't recuperate, I can't gain any energy. So if I use a lot of energy going up that 1.25 mile hill, I'm stuffed because it's at the beginning of the race. So you have to look at it, think where the hill is in the race, how much over the entire hill do I plan to get worth? Do I just want to be using a little bit of energy, not setting off too fast, and that's right at the beginning, or am I halfway, or am I at the end where I can expend that little bit if I think how much energy I've got left at that point that I go around that corner. If I've got enough, I can use most of it going up the hill, extra, and then a mile or two, and I'm finishing the race. So the criticality point here, thank you for watching. Do like and subscribe. I do need some more subscribers, and I do need lots of likes. So if you get this far, do click the like. But in summary, don't slam your foot on going downhill. Try and use the energy of the hill. If you think you're going too fast, don't go in the shortest distance, because believe you me, I gave you the calculation there, me starting at the same time as the guys at the top, getting to the bottom. Even if I reach the top and the bottom together, I'm still going faster than them, because I've gone a further distance, because I've tried to slow down naturally using the gravity and on a flatter gradient. You can see how even then I'm going quicker at the bottom, and I've used no energy. They've used loads trying to slow down, and Also, because I've recuperated, as I hit the bottom, my heart rate's nice and low. Theirs is racing. They've been slamming their foot on and trying to slow down. Theirs is going through the roof. Mine, I'm easy, you know. I'm gliding up the next hill, and that's the next thing. Use the energy to glide up the hill. Try and most hills afterwards just seem so easy for the first little section, and yeah, you did only a little section, but physically you feel so good going up the hill. It's not only a physical thing, it's a mental thing. You're mentally thinking, God, this is easy. I could go probably another 100 yards like this, you know. Brilliant. And you get to the top of the hill. So up hills and down hills like this, consider the whole hill. Down hills and up hills, consider that you need enough gravitational momentum to get yourself up the hill, because that's a really good point to get a physical and a mental buzz out of that next hill that you would have had trouble with possibly because it's a steep hill, and that's it. You know, it's as simple as knowing your surroundings. Always make sure, and this is the critical point I was mentioning earlier, always make sure you download the course gradient profile and you have a look at it, and perhaps look at it on Google. It's great to look at it on Google. If it's on there, you go down, click the map, click the person, drop him on the route, and walk the route on Google. Absolutely brilliant, because you know when you go around that, I walked this on Google, and there's a very nice hill there that I believe I can make some relaxation in. But one last thing, if you can, because when I went round that Mansfield one and that 1.25 mile gentle uphill, I've never ran something like that. There's nothing around where I run. So you either have to try and find something with that particular hill that you know is on the course, that you've never ran that sort of profile before, go run it before. Go either run the actual hill or the race, but try and run the hill if you can. Or try and run something similar to that hill, so that you think, actually, you know, I can do better on that downhill section, and I think I might be able to recover to a sort of 6 out of 10 on this, which means, you know, I can put in, you know, probably a good percentage more running uphill, and it has to be done, calculated and planned. Where is the hill? How much can I recuperate going downhill? Don't slam your feet on the floor. Use the momentum at the other end. And that is where I finish. Thank you very much.